Hello everyone, today's story is Rapunzel. Ready? Then I'll begin. Once upon a time, in a deep, dark forest, there lived a witch. And not a friendly white witch. Oh no. This was old Mother Gothel, the nastiest, smelliest, most horrid of all witches. She was so horrid and nasty that all the other witches refused to speak to her and never even sent her a birthday card, which made her even more evil and generally unpleasant towards everyone. One day, the witch was looking out of her forest at a lonely farmhouse where there lived a kind-hearted farmer and his beloved daughter, Rapunzel. Rapunzel was the most beautiful child in the world and had the longest, most golden hair, and her father loved her dearly, and he worked hard to make sure she had enough of everything.
Wow, what a
But
girl,
little did
eh?
they know,
What a girl.
the wicked witch had her eyes set on Rapunzel. One day in autumn, when the fields were full and the harvest underway, the cunning crone donned a disguise and approached the farmer with a sinister smile.
"Hello, farmer sir. I see you could use some help with your crops."
Why, thank you, kind lady. I would be grateful for your assistance.
The witch played a cruel trick on the farmer, and while he laboured in the fields, she sneaked away and cast a
Hocus
sleeping
pocus,
spell on Rapunzel
sleep like a dormouse.
and stole her away, deep, deep into the sinister, dark forest. She cackled as she carried her off.
Rapunzel, honey.
The farmer was devastated,
Rapunzel.
and he searched high and low for his
Really,
beloved
Rapunzel?
daughter,
Where have you gone?
but she was nowhere to be found. The next day, Rapunzel woke up alone, in a stone tower with no way to escape. She was locked in a room with just one window, high up in the tower wall. Surrounded by trees, she was all alone and frightened, and cried to think of her poor father at home on the farm, worrying about her. Rapunzel longed to be free, but the witch kept her locked away in the tower for many long years, visiting just once a day to gloat and point at her, and to give her sparse food and drink to
You ain't got no
survive.
alibi, you ugly, and locked in a tower.
But while she was alone, Rapunzel took heart from the birds of the forest and their beautiful singing, and as she sang with them, she would comb her ever-growing golden hair and dream of being rescued. Then, one day, as the king's son was out riding in the forest, he stopped when he heard the sweetest voice singing. He was utterly captivated by the voice and decided to find the source of the beautiful song. He followed it through the forest until he came to a clearing where there were no trees. There he discovered the tower, and looking up, saw there was just one window high up in the wall, and it seemed that the song was coming from inside. But then he stopped and jumped back among the trees, because at that moment the witch arrived. As he watched, old Mother Gothel hobbled across the clearing, spat on the ground in a most unpleasant manner, and stopped below the window. Then she called up,
"Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair."
Rapunzel cast her long golden hair down from the window, and the witch climbed up. In that moment, the prince saw Rapunzel, the source of the singing, for the very first time, and he immediately fell in love with her. Then he said, "Aha!" for he had discovered the secret to entering the tower. He waited patiently, still carefully hidden among the trees, until the witch climbed down the golden hair again and left. Once he was sure the witch had gone, the king's son ran to the window and called up,
"Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair!"
and she let down her hair, and the prince climbed up by it. Rapunzel was greatly terrified when she saw that a man had come to her instead of old Mother Gothel, but the prince began speaking so kindly to her, and told how her singing had entered into his heart, so that he could have no peace until he had seen her. Then Rapunzel forgot her terror, and when he asked her to take him for her husband, and she saw that he was young and beautiful, she thought to herself, "I certainly like him much better than old Mother Gothel." And she put her hand into his hand. She said,
"I would willingly go with thee, but I do not know how I shall get out of this tall tower, for I can't climb down my own hair as I am wearing it."
Fear not, for I shall find a strong rope from the castle and bring it back tomorrow.
said the brave prince.
We will climb down it together and escape.
They agreed and promised to meet the next day after the witch had left. The next day, the prince carried a long rope on his shoulder as he waited for the evil witch to arrive. He again hid in the trees and watched the tower and was enchanted again by Rapunzel's beautiful singing. Rapunzel was singing especially loudly that day and was very happy and excited to see the prince again and to escape to the world outside the tower where she had been trapped for so very long. It was because of this excitement that she was a bit too impatient when the witch finally arrived and climbed slowly up her long golden hair.
Old woman, how is it that you climb up here so slowly and the king's son is with me in just a moment?
She asked.
Oh, wicked child,
Cried out the witch.
what is this I hear? I thought I had hidden thee from all the world, and thou hast betrayed me.
In her anger, she seized Rapunzel by her beautiful hair, struck her several times with her left hand, and then grasping a pair of shears in her right, snip, snap, snap, the long and beautiful golden locks lay on the ground. And then she was so hard-hearted that she took Rapunzel, wrapped her mouth in a silk scarf to stop her from singing, and pushed her into a dark cupboard and locked the heavy door behind her, trapping Rapunzel inside. After the witch had locked Rapunzel away in the cupboard, she went back to the window and made fast the severed locks of hair to the window hasp. As luck would have it, what with the warm sunshine, and having got up so early that day to rush back to see Rapunzel, the prince had dozed off for a minute, so when he awoke he presumed the witch must have already left, and so he came out of his hiding place and cried up to the window.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair!
Then she let the hair down, and the king's son climbed up. But instead of his dearest Rapunzel, he found the witch looking at him with wicked, glittering eyes.
Aha, indeed.
I say.
Cried she, mocking him.
You came for your darling, but the sweet bird sits no longer in the nest and sings no more. The cat has got her and will scratch out your eyes as well. Rapunzel is lost to you. You will see her no more. No more.
And with that, she sprang at the prince, intending to throw him from the window. But, although shocked to see this evil cackling crone instead of his fair and beautiful love, the prince was fast and strong, and trained jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, and so, as she attacked,
Steady
he twisted away from her outstretched claws, and, with a pivot of his hip, he flung her high into the air and out of the open window, to her doom. Turning back inside the tower, he called out urgently,
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, where are you, my fair?
A strange sound replied, and he followed it until he discovered that it was coming from a large wooden cupboard with a locked door. Came the sound from within. He turned the key, and as the huge heavy door creaked open, he discovered inside the beautiful Rapunzel with a silk scarf tied tightly over her mouth. So that was the sound he was hearing. With a laugh of delight, the prince untied
thank
Rapunzel,
goodness.
and they embraced. He told her of how the witch had tricked
But
him,
really it was nothing.
and then fallen to her doom, and they made their way to the window.
And I've brought this rope, but now you must hold on to me tight while I climb down your hair.
He told her, and soon they were safe and free, and standing below in the bright warm sunshine on the grass below. The prince said to Rapunzel,
Come, we will go at once to my father and tell him the tale.
and so Rapunzel and the prince travelled to the royal castle and explained to the king and his court how Rapunzel had been imprisoned and freed, and how he had defeated the wicked witch and killed her, and how they now wished to be married.
I'm not dead. I've retired,
And
that's
then
all.
there was great rejoicing in the court. The king and his queen ordered that Rapunzel's father be found and told of the news,
Wow, what
and,
a girl, eh?
of course, invited to the
What a
wedding.
girl.
And there was great feasting and celebration throughout the kingdom. And Rapunzel and the prince were soon married and became known as the happiest couple in all of the kingdom. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. I hope that you all enjoyed our story today. Thank you for listening.